from Crafty Kendra, and I'm going to show you a couple projects today that use the Carry On Hostess stamp set. So let's go ahead and get started. The card I'm going to show you how to make today is this one right here. It has some really nice butterfly accents, but it's really simple. So let's get started. First thing we're going to do is bring in a piece of the new in color for 2012 to 2014, and this is Summer Starfruit. We're going to bring in our scallop trim border punch, and we're going to punch the sides. So this piece measures 2 inches by 5.5. And what we're going to do is I have a coffee liner here to catch all my little pieces. And I punched the first punch, and you'll see that there's a metallic shiny image there, and it is the exact same image as the punch out. You're just going to line up what you've already punched, so all you see is shiny. So down here you just see shiny. If it wasn't right, you would see some shiny and some matte, just the regular gray. You want to cover it up so you just see what you've already punched and the shiny, and then you'll punch again. And that way you get a perfect punch. And you're just going to continue that on the other side. Okay, and then you're going to just turn it over. And to make sure that you end with the same amount of scallop trim on both sides, you're just going to line up your piece of paper onto the punch so that you have the same amount hanging off each side. Okay? So I went ahead and I finished punching both sides, and that's the piece we end up with. I'm going to go ahead and just take my whole little coffee pot liner there and just move it aside. It's great how it just collects all the pieces for you. And next we're going to bring in a piece of the Patio Party Designer Series paper. And I'm using the piece that is the Midnight Muse with lots of little butterflies on it. We're just going to take our snail runner and run some snail onto the back. Now this piece measures 5.5 inches by 1.5 inches, and it fits perfectly so that you're only going to see the scallop trim, so it's going to come butt up right against both of these lines here. So we'll just go ahead and zoom in so you guys can see that. Alright, so there you see we don't have any long borders of that color. We just have the scallop trim showing. What we're going to do is just run some snail along the back of that, making sure we're doing it against the solid part of the Summer Starfruit, not along the scallop punched outs there. Going to bring in our card base, which is a piece of Whisper White. It measures 4.25 by 5.5, and I have my fold over here on the left side. Just gonna bring in that piece that we layered together, and with the butterflies going the right direction, and I have put it on going the wrong, make sure you watch that. You're just gonna line it up flush to the bottom, leaving just a tiny white border over here, so that way the little parts of your scallops aren't going to get bent. Just press it down, and we're going to set it aside just for a second. This Carry On stamp set comes with separate stamps, and all I've done is I've mounted them together on my clear block, all the 3 that I'm going to use, so I get to stamp them all at once. And I'm going to use the new in color called Midnight Muse. Now, Stampin' Up! Has redone their ink pads. They open the same, but they're really nice, and you're going to see the light catch on there firm foam pad, and oh, I have to say that they give the best impression ever, and it is just amazing. Our old, well, I say old, our ink pads from last year were made of felt, and sometimes you would have fibers that came off just because it was used, or you would have lines in your solid images that just showed how the threads in the fabric were intertwined. Now you don't get that. You get perfect ink coverage, and it's just amazing. Definitely give one a shot. It will change your life. What we're going to do is we're going to bring back in our card base, and we're going to open it so that way we don't have to worry about it flipping up. And just kind of bend it, closing the opposite direction to make it lay flat. And the reason I put this on our one piece on first is so that I know where to center my greeting, because I want it to be centered onto this side. And you want to give it even pressure, but you don't want to press really hard. And the same thing goes for whenever you're inking it up, because these ink pads are super juicy. It's just a light tap and you get perfect ink coverage. I have to let you guys see a zoom of that. It is just so beautiful. I didn't think they could improve, but I am a believer. It is just awesome. I always thought that there was going to be that one stamp pad, you know, it's a really solid image and I'm always going to have to go in with a marker and fill it in, but not anymore. Really, people, give one a try. It's awesome. Alright, the next thing we're going to do is I have some little butterflies that I have embossed here using the Beautiful Wings Embosslet. And what this does is it cuts out the butterfly design and it also embosses when it does that. And the colors I have right here are all the new ink colors. This is the Raspberry Ripple. Then we have Primrose Petals. And here is that same Summer Star Fruit. And on my sample here, you'll see that I've used different size, different colored ones. I just punched out a whole bunch and then I just made it random through which ones I used. On here you'll see that I have some Whisper White on there, so it's whatever you want to use. And what we're going to do is we're going to attach these little tiny ones with snail. So I'm just going to get them and put a little bit of snail on there. Put a butterfly up here. And I know how I want these butterflies to be because I have made a couple of these cards, so I have an idea. But make sure that you line them out on your card before you adhere them down, so that way you have an idea and you don't think, oh no, I don't want them like that, and you have to try to peel them off your project and mess up a little bit of it. I'm just going to go ahead and attach them all down with snail. You can use Stampin' Dimensionals if you want them to be raised up a little bit. You can also use glue dots. The glue dots are just a tad large for these really tiny ones, but you can just take your nail and smush it into a really weird shape and it'll fit on the back. But my snail is handy, so I'm going to use it. And as you can see, I just got all my butterflies on there. And since it's a white card, I just left the inside blank so that way it can be used for lots of different occasions. We're going to go right on into making the other card. It uses the same layout, but on this card, our Whisper White base is still 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, but I have scored it so that it folds opening up from the top. So that would make it a 11" by 4 1/4" piece, scored at 5 1/2. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring in our piece of Raspberry Ripple, and it was a 2" by 5 1/2" piece, and I used the scallop trim order punch to punch out. And now I have a piece of the Patio Party Designer Series paper, and it measures 1.5 by 5.5 inches. And I've already tied a little bow using very vanilla seam binding ribbon. Oh, I'm sorry, it's just a knot using the, just gonna add a little snail to the back of the Designer Series paper. Going to attach it to little layer of raspberry ripple so we get the nice little edge there. I'm going to go ahead and add some snail to the back of this. With our fold at the top, we're going to attach it to the left side, flush to the bottom, leaving just a little bit of a gap on the left, so that way, just like on the other card, your ends of your scallop trim won't get bent or torn. I'm going to move this out of the way for a little bit. I've already gone ahead and changed our greeting to the cupcake and keep calm and eat a cupcake. All the stamps are again from the Hostess set called Carry On. Now what we're going to do is we're going to bring in our, and you can see I didn't clean it off, that one anyway. Whenever I change it over, I'm going to take the new in color called Primrose Petals. And on these longer sides, they're flat. So I'm just going to take my stamp and my ink pad and kiss them together and only ink up the cupcake in the Primrose Petals. Okay. Then I'm going to grab my Midnight Muse, do the same thing, but I'm going to do it to all the wording. Make sure it's all nice and juicy. And again, it's just a really light kiss on these ink pads. They are so juicy. And if you find it's too juicy, you can just take a paper towel, scratch paper, and just kind of blot it for a little bit on top of your ink pad to get rid of some of the ink. Now we're going to go ahead and bring back in our card base, and I'm going to go ahead and open it up and fold it a little bit the opposite direction to help it lay flat. I'm going to bring in my greeting and center it. Stamp, and you want to press evenly but not too hard because you don't want to get a ring. Oh, beautiful. Now this ink does take a little bit longer to dry if it's on your stamp a little thick. So you're just going to set it aside for a second and let it dry. Now, to go embellishments for my card, I have made little pinwheels using Baja Breeze and the Summer Star Fruit with little brads in their centers. I have a separate video on how to make these. But we're just going to flip them over, and we're going to put a couple glue dots to the back of them. I'm just putting 2 glue dots on each of them to make sure that they stay stuck to our card. And the reason I decided to do pinwheels was to really play off the pinwheel cupcake toppers that are in our card. And now my ink has already had enough time to dry, so I'm going to go ahead and attach these pinwheels. I'm going to put my Baja Breeze one down here on the bottom. I'm going to put my little Summer Star Fruit one right up here by my cupcake. Sorry, my glue dots were a little antsy to get on there. Just going to press them down. Now, they are poofed up a little bit just because of how I folded them, but you don't have to worry because you can go ahead and just completely crease them down and they'll be fine, but it shouldn't be too bulky for mailing. But that is my other variation for the Keep Calm and Carry On card. So it's the exact same layout. All we did was we used a slightly different greeting, different piece of pattern paper, and we used separate embellishments that really coordinated well with whatever paper we were using. So that's all I have for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you next time.